My landlord tried to illegally evict me, so I bought the building and evicted him instead. It all started when Marcus, my landlord, raised my rent 40% with 2 weeks' notice. I'd been renting the same tiny studio apartment for 3 years. Always paid on time, never made trouble. The place was a dump, honestly. Peeling paint, a broken elevator, a heater that worked maybe half the winter. But it was mine, and it was affordable at $800 a month. I was a full-time student working toward my master's in social work. Every penny mattered. I called him the second I saw the notice. "Market rates," he said dismissively. I could hear a TV blaring in the background, and what sounded like a woman crying. He sounded like he was half listening, maybe drunk. "This is my building. I can charge what I want. Don't like it? There's the door." I reminded him that 2 weeks' notice wasn't legal, and the increase exceeded city limits. He laughed. "Legal notice, kid? This is the real world. And don't you college brats have rich parents anyway? Call daddy. Time to stop playing poor." I wanted to scream that my parents had died when I was 16, that I'd been supporting myself through school with 2 jobs. Instead, I hung up and got to work. That night, I pulled up every tenant rights ordinance I could find. I highlighted and printed out the laws. 30 days notice required for rent increases. Increases capped at 25% annually. Landlords required 24-hour notice before entering a unit. Late fees limited to 5% of rent. Marcus had violated at least half a dozen laws. At 8 a.m. sharp the next morning, I knocked on his penthouse door. It was the only unit in the building that didn't look like a death trap. Hardwood floors, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances. He opened the door in pajamas and a world's best landlord mug in his hand. His wife, I assumed, stood behind him cooking eggs in a silk robe. I held out the paperwork. "You're breaking city law." He skimmed it, chuckled, and waved me off. "Sue me. You can't afford a lawyer. Half my tenants don't speak English well enough to fight back." I could smell the alcohol on his breath. At 8 a.m., he leaned on the door frame, looking me up and down like I was prey. "Try the trailer parks. More your speed." That laugh from his wife, it told me everything. Neither of them had ever worried about rent in their lives. That was when I realized it wasn't just about me. That same day, I started knocking on other doors. I learned that Marcus had made a business out of bullying vulnerable tenants. Mrs. Chen, an elderly woman on the second floor, had lived there for 8 years without ever missing a payment. She showed me a notice demanding $800 in cleaning fees or face eviction. Her apartment? Spotless. Every surface was wrapped in plastic. "I clean every day," she said in broken English. "He say still dirty. Must pay or leave." The Ramirez family had a toddler with asthma. They'd run a humidifier for 2 weeks. Marcus charged them $2,200 for excessive utilities. Their actual bill had only gone up $23. He filed eviction papers when they couldn't pay. The Johnsons were charged $600 because their newborn cried at night. The Ahmeds were cited for unauthorized guests when their father visited from out of town for a week. College students were fined party fees for study groups. The same pattern repeated. Fake fees, impossible demands, illegal threats, and evictions. He preyed on people he thought couldn't fight back. Immigrants, elderly, poor students, parents juggling work and kids. He banked on fear and silence. I started documenting everything. Every letter, every fee, every conversation. I photographed the busted elevator, the black mold, the broken mailboxes, the fire hazards. I dug into Marcus's records, found he owned 4 other buildings, all run just as badly. His total property value? Over $3 million, but he'd invested nothing into maintenance, just intimidation. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I walked into the hallway and saw him yelling at Mrs. Chen again. He was shoving a pen in her face, telling her to sign something. "Just sign here, Grandma. Makes things easier. No courts, no lawyers." I stepped between them. I'd picked up enough Mandarin from a college roommate to warn her, "Don't sign. It's an eviction notice." Her eyes lit up with relief. She understood me, and maybe more than she'd let on. Marcus's face turned red. "Mind your business or you're next. This is my business. I live here." He grabbed my arm hard enough to leave bruises. "I'll make something up. Drugs, noise, damage. Judges don't care about punks like you." That night, I called the one person I knew who could help, my grandfather. Pop had been a contractor for decades. Smart, successful, and no fan of bullies. When I asked him what it would cost to buy the building, he paused. "You serious?" I told him everything. The harassment, the evictions, the threats, the bruises. "Send me the records," he said. "Let's see what we're working with." 2 days later, Pop called back. "Marcus is cooked," he said. "Building's worth about $800K, but he owes $650. He's missed payments for 3 months. Foreclosure's already in motion. Then he dropped the bomb. He also took out a second mortgage last year to buy a Florida vacation house. Used this building as collateral. He's leveraged to the edge of ruin. I couldn't believe it. He's desperate, Pop continued. That's why he's squeezing tenants. He needs every penny of cash flow to stay afloat, but he's out of time. He had enough liquid cash to buy the building at auction. Then he made an offer. You manage it, I'll buy it. You clean it up. The plan was simple. Let Marcus keep digging his own grave. I installed a hidden camera in my apartment and started baiting him. Every shady move, every illegal charge, I recorded it. When he demanded $500 for carpet damage, I filmed it. This carpet was brand new when you moved in, he lied. The burns and stains clearly predated me. When he entered my apartment without notice, I caught it on video. He muttered to himself, "College kids always got drugs, just gotta find them." And the best? When I casually mentioned that I'd spoken to other tenants about their rent increases, he snapped. "You're organizing. That's harassment. You're out." Then he served me fake eviction papers for community agitation. I showed them to a tenant rights lawyer. She laughed so hard she nearly fell off her chair. "This isn't legally binding. It's barely legible." He might as well have written it in crayon. Perfect. More ammunition. 2 weeks later, Pop and I sat quietly in the courthouse for the foreclosure auction. Marcus had missed his 4th mortgage payment. The bank had enough. He showed up 5 minutes before the auction began, looking like he'd slept in his car. His rumpled suit didn't hide the panic. He kept checking his phone like a lifeline would magically appear. Lot 47, the auctioneer announced. Multi-unit, 24 units. Opening bid, $650,000. Pop raised his paddle. $650,000. Marcus shot up. $655,000. He was sweating bullets. Pop smiled. $700,000. Marcus turned pale, whispered furiously into his phone. $745,000, he shouted, voice cracking. Pop didn't flinch. $750,000. Silence. The auctioneer looked around. Going once? Going twice? Marcus stood, frantic. "Wait, I can get the money. I just need—" "Sold," the auctioneer said. Paddle 23, $750,000. Pop now owned the building. Marcus sat there, stunned. I walked over casually. "Hello, Marcus. Fancy meeting you here." He blinked. "You. This was you? You planned this. I documented your crimes," I said. "Your financial mess was already public record. We just took advantage of your bad choices." Pop walked up next, papers in hand. "Marcus, I presume. I'm the new owner. We'll need to talk about your lease situation." "My lease? I owned—" "You were a tenant with a lease agreement," Pop said calmly. "One that includes clauses on management fees and eviction procedures. Terms you wrote. The eviction process took exactly 30 days, legal minimum. We filed for eviction based on multiple lease violations, unauthorized entry, failure to pay the $2,000 a month property management fee that he had written into all leases. It kicked in the moment ownership changed. He fought it, hired a lawyer, tried to argue he couldn't be evicted from his own building. The lawyer took one look and said, "You're not the owner, and your lease includes a clause that requires payment of management fees within 15 days. You didn't pay. Restore them with dignity and give people homes they were proud to live in." 6 months after Marcus was evicted, I saw him at a downtown coffee shop. He was sitting alone, complaining loudly into his phone about being cheated by some rich kid's grandfather. I walked over. "Hey, Marcus, how's the apartment hunt going?" His face flushed red. He hung up mid-call. "You destroyed my life," he muttered. "No," I replied, sitting across from him. "You destroyed it. We just held up a mirror." He looked worn down, old. His expensive jacket didn't hide the shakiness in his hands or the stress in his eyes. "I lost everything," he whispered. "My wife left. My vacation house got seized. Criminal charges. Lawsuits. I'm bankrupt. You almost made Mrs. Chen homeless. The Ramirez family had to choose between rent and their daughter's medical equipment," I said. "You were ruining lives. We just stopped you." I pulled out a business card for our property management company. "If you ever clean up your act, we're always looking for responsible tenants. Background check. No evictions. Clean credit. Stable income. You know the drill." He stared at it. "You can't be serious. Dead serious. Everyone deserves a second chance. Even you. But we do things by the book." I got up to leave, then paused. "Oh, by the way, this coffee shop? We just bought the building. Nothing's changing here, but we're converting the upstairs into affordable housing. 1 bedroom start at $750. Marcus looked like he'd been slapped. 2 years later, our company manages 12 buildings, housing more than 300 families. We specialize in turning around properties damaged by slumlords. Every lease includes a tenant bill of rights. We've built an emergency fund to help residents through hardships. Our average maintenance response time? Under 4 hours. Mrs. Chen still lives in 2B. Her unit now has central air, a dishwasher, and access to her thriving rooftop garden. The Ramirez family owns their unit now, thanks to a rent-to-own program we implemented. Maria manages 3 buildings and just bought her first house. The Ahmed's son, he graduated and now works as a city housing inspector, inspecting buildings like the one he once lived in. Marcus never applied. Last I heard, he was paying $900 for a small studio in the suburbs, more than Mrs. Chen pays now for her fully renovated 1-bedroom downtown. His wife divorced him. His Florida house was seized. He's banned from owning rental properties for a decade. On top of that, he's still paying restitution for his past crimes. I sometimes wonder if he learned anything, but then I remember Sofia Ramirez gasping for air while her parents chose between her health and a fraudulent fee, or Mrs. Chen crying as Marcus tried to trick her into signing eviction papers. Some people create suffering because they can. Others create solutions because they must. Today, the building at 1247 Oak Street is full. We have a waiting list 3 months long. The hallways smell like Mrs. Chen's dumplings, and laughter echoes from every floor. The rooftop garden overflows with produce and flowers. Teenagers play chess in the courtyard. Kids ride bikes without fear of being evicted for having unauthorized guests. It's what housing should be: safe, supportive, alive. We host monthly tenant meetings, potlucks, and community workshops. Tenants bring issues, vote on changes, and participate in everything from budgeting talks to fire safety drills. We even have a lending library and a shared tool shed. And every month, I walk those halls with a clipboard, not to catch anyone, but to ask, "What do you need? How can we help?" One afternoon, I found a note slipped under my office door. It was from Mrs. Chen, written in careful handwriting. "Thank you for teaching old woman that sometimes young people fight back." But she had it backwards. It was her and the other tenants who taught me what fighting back really meant, that it wasn't about anger or revenge. It was about refusing to let cruelty be the loudest voice in the room. Marcus thought he was invincible because he held the deed. But property ownership doesn't equal power. Real power? It comes from people banding together, from saying, "No more," from turning solidarity into structure. He used to brag that he could raise rents on a whim, fabricate violations, and bully people out of their homes, that nobody would stop him, that no one could. He was wrong, because sometimes the people you think are powerless are just waiting for someone to light a match, and when they do, the whole system catches fire. Now, 1247 Oak isn't just a building, it's proof that better is possible, that slumlords can be beaten, that community isn't a slogan, it's a practice, a living, breathing act of defiance in a world that profits from despair. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just getting even, it's rebuilding, stronger, fairer, together, and handing the keys back to the people who were never supposed to hold them.